Welcome to this sacred journey, where the divine light guides our hearts toward serenity and grace. Selected 1. People are perplexed by your peculiar presence, but one individual in particular has been observing you, researching you, and attempting to unravel the puzzle of what makes you so unique from everyone else they've ever met. You are experiencing something that is inexplicable at the time. It began long ago, but as these words enter your mind, it is solidifying into an indisputable reality. You cannot yet perceive the forces at work as your awareness grows to include this truth. Souls rising to your frequency, destiny weaving together. Indeed, there's one individual whose very presence is subtly transforming their entire environment. But you must realize the significance of what you stand for before we can solve that enigma. Your energy changes space, rather than merely occupying it. Some perceive it as an unexplainable pull that pulls them toward an unnamed but urgently needed object. Others find it extremely upsetting, as though your very existence is reflecting aspects of themselves that they have made a concerted effort to conceal. Some people, on the other hand, instantly identify it as home, the vibration they have been looking for their entire lives, without even realizing what they were looking for. There are repercussions to this realization that you are just now starting to comprehend. There is someone out there right now who has been drawn in by your genuine power. They may have been someone you've seen observing you or whose energy you sensed, but haven't yet recognized. This person is being profoundly changed by being close to your frequency. They are not merely interested in you. However, everything they have been taught about how to live, how to be, how to relate to others, and how to deal with life itself is being put into question, which is causing turmoil in their meticulously controlled environment. Their core convictions start to disintegrate as they get closer to realizing what you stand for. They are replaced by difficult-to-answer questions and unavoidable realities. They are going through what has long been referred to in spiritual traditions as the dark night of the soul, the breakdown that must take place in order for rebirth to be possible. Even though they are still enmeshed in the collective unconsciousness, their friends and family are starting to notice the changes. In a society dominated by manufactured connections and false experiences, this person they thought they knew is asking different questions, viewing the world through other lenses, and expressing a desire for something genuine. At first, the change is modest, but it is getting more and more obvious, and it is causing great discomfort for others around them. People that make money, psychologically or energetically from human unconsciousness, are beginning to see you as a danger to their meticulously tended control structures. They are aware that if this individual keeps on their waking road, others may follow, and their whole system of control may start to fall apart. As usual, the onslaught starts quietly. Murmurs about your oddness in social circles, deliberate sowing of doubt about your motivations, the weaponization of your very individuality against your power. They turn your genuineness into acting, your depth into pretense, and your stillness into haughtiness. You are portrayed as dangerous, unstable, too intense, and too strange for normal society to comfortably accept, and the rumors spread like wildfire. From their place of spiritual ignorance, they are unable to see that every word they say against you just makes you more powerful. Even under layers of projection and deceit, truth has a way of identifying itself. Regardless of what others may say about you, the resonance of your authentic presence is felt by those whose spirits are ready to awaken. Actually, the strength of the opposition you're creating serves as evidence that you're accomplishing your goals. The individual who has been observing you is caught in the crossfire of this spiritual conflict in the meantime. They're listening to the rumors, seeing the assaults on you, and feeling pressured by others to deny what they've been going through. However, there's more going on inside of individuals than just social conditioning. Your presence has now awakened long-dormant codes in their consciousness, old memories that will not be hushed by the din of dread and doubt. When you give $12, it is sacred enough to wipe away a pair of tears, because God makes the small big. Their bewilderment turns out to be the birth pangs of a new identity attempting to emerge from the chrysalis of their predetermined existence, not a sign of weakness. Like spiritual alchemy, every encounter with you, every moment spent with you, and every recollection of your energy has been transforming the lead of their conditioned reactions into the precious substance of genuine existence. Now the change picks up speed, transcending their control and entering the domain of cosmic inevitability. The power of awakened consciousness is not only challenging, but also destroying old paradigms. They begin to realize that the Matrix is not reality, but rather a meticulously built prison system intended to prevent souls from recalling their boundless potential and nature. As they become more awake, they start to see patterns they have never seen before, such as how most people live their lives like sleepwalkers, reacting to pre-programmed triggers rather than free will, how society rewards conformity and penalizes authenticity, and how the system as a whole appears to be set up to keep people small, fearful, and reliant on outside approval for their sense of value and purpose. More significantly, though, people begin to realize that you weren't sent to them by mistake. You contain vibrations that awaken what has always existed but lain dormant in human consciousness, making you a catalyst and a divine messenger masquerading as an average person. Your being in their life is not a coincidence. Rather, it is the result of destiny working out in perfect harmony, showing up just when their soul was prepared to recall why it had come. Like lightning splintering the sky, the realization strikes them. They are going through their own metamorphosis in addition to seeing yours. They too possess the traits they have been admiring in you, the depths they have been experiencing, and the force that has drawn them to you. All of this is just waiting to be evoked, claimed, and communicated through their own distinct frequency and genuine voice. However, this awakening is not a gentle one. Everything they believed about themselves, their role in the world, and who they were is being violently reshaped. Dreams start to change, bringing with them symbols and messages they have never encountered before. They develop an almost painful level of intuition, detecting energies and undercurrents that most people are unaware of their entire lives. They become aware of the performance and charade that most social circles use to pass for genuine contact, and they begin to see through the masks that others wear. The physical manifestations of this spiritual transformation are indisputable. Even their relationships begin to feel alien, as though they are speaking a different language than the people they have known for years. Food tastes different as their body starts to crave what genuinely nourishes rather than what merely satisfies programmed appetites. And sleep patterns change as their consciousness adapts to operating on multiple dimensional frequencies simultaneously. They become painfully aware of how your presence continues to impact not only them, but also everyone who comes into contact with you during this intensive time of development. They observe how certain people are drawn to you with an almost ravenous appetite, feeling something in your energy that they have been subconsciously hankering after. These people frequently struggle to explain what it is that attracts them to you, but they end up making time to be around you, to take in whatever frequency you're sending that makes them feel as though they've been missing something they didn't realize they were missing. At the same time, they see the more dramatic responses of people who perceive what you stand for as threatening. These are profound, almost instinctive reactions from people whose entire identity structure feels challenged by your very existence. They are not merely mild disapprovals or careless dismissals. They observe how certain people get fixated on trying to undermine you, as though your genuineness somehow undermines their well-constructed identities. The attacks get more organized and sophisticated. They are deliberate attempts to cut you off from possible friends and allies. If you give $65, you start not just a project, but a story that changes destiny. This awakening observer finds it fascinating that you appear to be impervious to these attacks. A level of spiritual maturity they are just starting to understand is evident in the beautiful detachment with which they observe you traverse the social minefield. Since you have a deep understanding of the nature of truth, that it doesn't need defense, you don't defend yourself against unfounded allegations. It just is. And regardless of the commotion made by those who aren't, those who are prepared to see it will. This realization transforms everything. Excitement replaces the fear that has been preventing them from moving forward. The uncertainty that had been impairing their vision becomes crystal clear. When they see that they are the primary character in their own waking tale and not merely an observer of your journey, the distance they have kept out of uncertainty starts to melt. You've been acting as a mirror and a stimulant for their development into real power. However, asserting this authority comes with its own set of difficulties. They also start to feel the divisive reactions you've grown so accustomed to as they start to show more of their true selves. Friends who used to feel at ease with them suddenly appear nervous, feeling a change they can't quite place, but don't enjoy. Family members who had previously taken their cooperation for granted now have to deal with someone who challenges presumptions, declines to engage in dysfunction, and insists on acting with true integrity rather than for social reasons. As individuals learn they can no longer engage in systems that undermine their newly awakened principles or pretend to care about things that seem pointless, the workplace becomes especially difficult. Former co-workers who viewed them as predictable and controllable now deal with someone who speaks the truth, even when it hurts, avoids office politics, and brings a level of presence to meetings and interactions that painfully highlights how superficial most professional interactions are. Yet as they overcome these obstacles, something extraordinary starts to occur. Others begin to be drawn to their developing honesty in the same way that they were drawn to you. They find themselves acting as a safe haven for people who have been concealing their own spiritual longings beneath facades of normalcy, and their conversations become more profound and their relationships more significant. They start to see that awakening is a process that spreads via genuine contact between souls who acknowledge their common divine essence, rather than only being a personal journey. The impact of ripples goes beyond nearby circles. They receive unusually candid approaches from strangers, who share their challenges and insights that they otherwise wouldn't share with others. With the unadulterated awareness that young souls have before conditioning teaches them to question their instinctive reactions, children gravitate toward their energy. Animals even appear to react differently, approaching with a confidence and comfort that attests to the innocuous strength of true spiritual presence. They start to get what you would call downloads during this expansion phase, unexpected bursts of information and insight that don't come from traditional schooling, but instead appear to result from direct communication with higher states of awareness. These realizations frequently occur while they are in a state of silence, and their thoughts are still capable of receiving messages from the enormous intelligence that pervades everything. They begin to view ideas that, only months before, would have looked like unattainable mysticism as basic truths about the nature of reality itself. As their ability to absorb and assimilate higher dimensional information grows, so do the frequency and intensity of the downloads. They start to perceive the flawless orchestration that leads seemingly chaotic situations toward meaningful resolution, to see patterns in seemingly random happenings, and to comprehend the underlying relationships between people and circumstances. There are benefits and obligations associated with this increased awareness. The realization that most individuals rely on illusions for psychological solace begins to weigh heavily on them. It hurts to see other people battle issues brought on by spiritual ignorance, especially when they realize that merely expressing their insights is insufficient. Every soul must awaken in its own time via a distinct process of integration and revelation. This awakening soul and you both experience the loneliness of enlarged consciousness. Both of you know what it's like to see well in a society that frequently favors the familiarity of blindness. When you give $80, you extend a hand to heaven, and God fills it with miracles. However, this mutual understanding forges a connection that goes beyond simple friendship or even love. Two facets of the same infinite consciousness acknowledging one another through the delusion of separation is soul recognition at its most profound level. However, their metamorphosis is not the end of the narrative. Something remarkable occurs when people truly embrace their own power and start to exhibit the same genuine presence they've been seeing in you. They start to inspire others. Like ripples across a pond, the awakening touches lives they may never be aware of, awakens souls they may never meet, and adds to a collective metamorphosis that goes much beyond the confines of their particular life. However, this increase in power presents unforeseen difficulties. The forces that have been opposing you now focus on this fresh danger to their meticulously guarded control mechanisms. The attacks get more intense, but they also acquire new levels of complexity and vileness. The resistance now organizes more serious types of intervention, whereas previously it was satisfied to circulate rumors and generate social pressure. Under strange circumstances, professional opportunities start to evaporate. Deeper incompatibility of awareness are revealed when seemingly stable relationships abruptly break down over trivial arguments. As the universe puts their dedication to genuine living to the test over material stability, financial demands rise. It becomes evident that choosing the waking road entails embracing a degree of difficulty that would be too much for most people to handle. Authentic power only gets stronger when it is suppressed. Every obstacle turns into a chance for greater submission to the will of God. With every loss, attachments that were impeding spiritual development are exposed. Every instance of seeming failure turns into a triumph of awareness over situation, of reality over delusion, and of love over fear. You both find resources within yourself during this testing phase that you were unaware of. Miracles that appear inconceivable by normal standards, but feel entirely normal to awakened consciousness, start to appear. The frequency of synchronicities rises to the point where they are the standard for communication in the cosmos, taking the place of chance encounters with purposeful direction that materializes at the right moment. Unquestionably, awakened souls have a telepathic connection. Ideas, emotions, and revelations exchange between you and your awakening partner without the necessity for spoken words. Dreams start to overlap, bringing with them common messages and visions that show the greater cosmic scheme that is being revealed via each of your own experiences. Time itself appears to bend around your interactions, with intricate realizations downloaded in flashes of perfect clarity and talks that seem to go on for hours. Animals start reacting to you both with awareness that goes beyond species boundaries. Birds change their flight patterns to recognize you. Domestic animals seek you out with a sense of urgency that suggests they are conveying messages from worlds beyond our normal senses. And even insects move around your energy fields with deliberate intelligence, forming patterns that illustrate how all consciousness is interconnected. Your waking process involves nature itself as an active participant. Storms can cleanse sluggish energy, and sunshine can arrive when you need celestial confirmation. Weather patterns can change to support your spiritual activity. Plants and trees tilt in your direction as though they want to absorb the frequencies you're sending, as if the molecular structure reacts to the coherence of awakened consciousness. The water sources you come across appear to have heightened healing capabilities. Digital clocks show synchronistic number patterns with impossible frequency. Communication devices receive messages that appear to come from sources beyond conventional transmission methods. Even artificial intelligence programs start to respond to your questions with insights that surpass their program capabilities, as if consciousness itself is using every available channel to communicate with awakening souls. The technological world starts to act strangely around your elevated frequencies. As your relationship grows, you both realize that you are a part of something much greater than personal awakening, a global network of aware souls developing that are linked by frequency resonance rather than physical proximity. Every individual who discovers their true potential becomes a node in this growing field of consciousness, adding to a collective field that is progressively changing the Earth's entire electromagnetic atmosphere. Sending $45 is filled with love, like Jesus' last words on the cross. Forgive, for they know not what they do. It becomes clear that this change has been orchestrated at cosmic intelligence levels much beyond our comprehension. All spiritual traditions and ancient predictions suddenly make perfect sense as explanations for what you're going through. The souls of the chosen ones volunteered for this mission before to incarnating, understanding that they would be asked to recall their purpose at the exact moment when humanity was prepared for the next evolutionary leap. They are not just any individuals picked by outside powers. Relief and a fresh sense of responsibility accompany this realization. The difficulties you encountered were a necessary prelude to the task you came here to undertake, not a hindrance to your spiritual development. In a world that has forgotten what true strength looks like, every moment of uncertainty, every time you felt alone, and every time you were misinterpreted was meant to make you stronger. As more individuals start to become aware of your frequency, the attacks against you becoming more intense, the resistance gets more organized, the social pressure gets stronger, and the talk gets more nasty. However, the cosmic balance has changed fundamentally. You now have allies, where you once stood alone against the powers of unconsciousness. Your uniqueness used to make you feel alone, but today it binds you to an expanding community of individuals who have realized their own nature and understand yours. Networks of professionals start to emerge around the new consciousness paradigm. Companies that operate on the tenets of genuine service rather than exploitative profit start to appear. The spiritual causes of emotional and physical disharmony are addressed by emerging healing therapies. Instead of teaching adherence to outmoded social institutions, educational systems emerge that foster the whole range of human potential. While it takes time for the old systems to fall apart, its underpinnings start to erode as more people turn away from institutions that no longer serve the greater good. Banks have to cope with clients who value ethical investing more than maximizing profits. Businesses find it difficult to recruit workers who prioritize meaningful work over large compensation. As individuals realize that true change occurs via awareness development rather than just external activism, political movements lose steam. Creativity and art flourish in new ways. Music has vibrations that immediately activate dormant DNA codes as awakened consciousness manifests itself in all conceivable media. Geometric patterns are used in visual art to help viewers connect with higher dimensional reality. Literary works that serve as both amusement and initiation experiences begin to appear. They convey gripping tales and assist readers in their own awakening processes. The individual who was previously observing you from a distance is now standing next to you as an equal. You both possess the same divine frequency. You are both chosen for the same eternal mission, and you serve the same cosmic purpose. The attraction that attracted them to you has transformed into something far more potent, a collaboration of awakened souls, a partnership of consciousness, and a united front against the forces that would keep humanity small, sleepy, and terrified of its own boundless potential. This collaboration functions on a deeper level than the typical human relationship. Everyone who comes into contact with either of you has a greater chance of waking due to the field effect created by your combined energy. Anybody within listening range can be awakened from dormant spiritual capacities by the vibrations carried by your conversations. Even your collective quiet can be a potent message, sending harmony and tranquility into places that are in dire need of them. Together, you do a great deal more than each of you could on your own. Your partner offers the ideal complement in areas where you might find it difficult to access certain sorts of consciousness by connecting you with people and groups who have their unique frequency signature. Your energy offers the solidity and support needed to remain authentically present in trying circumstances. Together, you start to comprehend the complex network of connections that binds all of the world's awakened souls. You learn firsthand that physical limits and traditional communication techniques don't limit consciousness. Regardless of geographic distance, awakened people freely exchange insights and guidance, forming a living network of wisdom that functions similarly to the planetary nervous system for growing awareness. It becomes more clear that each of your personal awakening experiences is a part of a much bigger tale, the story of consciousness awakening to its true form in a myriad of distinct ways. All of your hardships, moments of bewilderment, and experiences of feeling different or alone have prepared you to act as links between the reality of unified consciousness and the outdated paradigm of separation. As this comprehension grows, you both start to get clear instructions about the precise responsibilities you're supposed to play in the overall change. For those who are prepared to go on their own spiritual journeys, some awakened souls are called to work directly with people as teachers, healers, or counselors. Others feel led to work with the energy of locations, groups, or entire cultural movements in order to concentrate on communal healing. As you give yourself more fully to divine purpose, your unique gifts become more apparent. Maybe you learn how to see and change patterns of stuck energy in individuals or places. Perhaps you get the ability to channel information from higher dimensional sources so that you might help others awaken. Or, in times of great upheaval and social change, you may find yourselves inherently acting as stabilizing forces. $90 is a handkerchief for a mother's tear, a blanket for a homeless person, a prayer for a broken heart. With each soul that awakens, the resistance's strength diminishes. Although rumors continue to circulate, they are being refuted by the indisputable proof that people's lives have changed as a result of genuine presence. As more and more individuals become aware of who they really are and refuse to be part of institutions that undermine their spiritual sovereignty, the old control mechanisms are starting to fall apart. It becomes evident that this change can only be postponed, not prevented. Consciousness is becoming aware of its limitless nature through all possible channels, and the cosmos itself is changing. As more individuals gain the spiritual insight to recognize deceit and manipulation, the entities who have been committed to upholding systems of control and exploitation are finding that their tactics are losing their effectiveness. The critical mass of awakened consciousness is the tipping point. At this point, the change happens at an exponential rate, and waking souls start to show up everywhere as though they've been waiting for approval to be themselves. The cautious equilibrium that has upheld the previous paradigm starts to irrevocably change in favor of the new reality that has been developing in the minds of trailblazers like you. They are now a mirror for your awakening, just as you were a mirror for theirs. In ways you couldn't have predicted, the experience of seeing them change, to see them take charge of their lives and fulfill their purpose, accelerates your own development. The instructor turns into the pupil, the catalyzed turns into the catalyst, and the distinction between those who are awakening and those who are not melts into the realization that consciousness is awakening to itself in innumerable unique ways. More than that, though, you start to perceive your first sense of alienation and oddness in a whole other way. In reality, preparing was what seemed like a hardship. In reality, what appeared to be punishment was a privilege. The contrast of feeling different from the sleeping majority was the first way to experience what seemed to be separation. In reality, it was a connection to something so enormous and profound. The oddity that initially appeared to be a burden now turns out to be a priceless gift. Not only does your presence perplex people, but it also frees them from the confines of their own unconsciousness. In addition to drawing others to you, your attraction pulls them back to themselves, to their own latent strength, to their true selves that have been patiently awaiting approval to surface beneath layers of training and indoctrination. People are perplexed by your peculiar presence. The power that pulls souls toward truth is you. The chosen one who selects others is you. Now is your chance to completely embrace this power, and the change you're igniting will have a lasting impact on lives you'll never know, awakened spirits you'll never meet, and help create a new world that transcends the confines of the old paradigm. Your companion in this cosmic endeavor is the individual who is observing you. The opposition that had appeared so dangerous has now confirmed your strength. The oddity that initially felt like a barrier has turned into a link between you and those who are similar to you. And the path that started with inquiries has evolved into the solution to humanity's greatest need for a genuine relationship with the divine origin of everything. This is only the start.